Outdoor, I've just gone over. Sorry, this is a few days later on from the last section, so I'm just sort of moving down into talking about the O4 packaging here with these items. Of course, you can see CD. Very redundant technology, but we've still got it there if you want to use that. Again, with all these instances of packaging or whatever, it might just be a very simple instance, or case of, I should stop saying instance all the time, of grabbing hold of the pen tool, defining the, not in this way, that's obviously a really dodgy way that I'm doing right now, defining the edge of the panel that you want to work with. Save the path if you want to. Oh, by the way, obviously this has already got its paths in here, so always go into the path menu before you start creating your own paths, just to make sure that there is indeed a path in there. Don't rely on the fact that JPEG, you would think JPEG wouldn't have paths, but yes, you can have paths in JPEG. So yeah, it's just a simple matter of just command clicking on a path and pasting into. And then once you paste into, you use multiply. If multiply works, it might sort of be very, you know, very little effect on this one, something like this. But that will be the mainstay of a lot of these. I'm going to come back to this, sorry. Okay, so, yeah, we've got that. We've got to talk about redundant technology part 2. I'm sure people still buy DVDs, do they? DVDs, bags, there's a whole heap of bags here. So the same applies to most of these bags as is the case with book covers, etc. As per the t-shirt example, you know, with bags which are a little bit more rough or whatever, excuse me, you'll have to use free transform warp to you know, move things around. But that's the case with these ones. Excuse me, let me just pause for a second while I cough. That's better. Yeah, bags. Bottles, again, I've already done a demonstration on bottles, and I know most of you will be doing photographs of bottles anyway, so that's the bottles. Boxes, again, I've already done a demonstration on a cube, like a tea container or something like that, so the same thing applies to those. Cartons, oh yeah, like obviously drink cartons or whatever. There's one for a takeaway cup, and again the same, if you were to use this, the same thing applies to this as is the case with a bottle. Swing tags if you want to. Swing tags, again with any of these ones which, you know, will require a little bit of cutting around, etc. Again, use the pen tool to map it out. Oh, actually, and again, here we go. These have already been pathed out for you. Isn't that great? So perfect. But you know, you can see all the way through, even to the string. But it may be you don't want to change the string. But if you wanted to, there it is, all neatly sort of selected for you, which is cool. Then we go back to tin cans. Yeah. Well, that's an aluminium can, but anyway. Pack, yeah, I'll say coffee pack or sandwich or whatever, and that's vacuum sealed coffee pack. And then finally tubes for, you know, lotion or whatever. Then we get into print. So with print, there's a lot of variations on the theme. As you can see here, we've got book, and again, I've already gone through one of these examples, so you know exactly what's going on if you want to mock up a book. We have magazine as well. We've got some fairly stock standard magazines. Not when I say stock standard, we've used these. These first 3 have been around for a while, and they're rather difficult to mock up for. Now, what I've also included is these ones, which are relatively new, which have been shot by Michael, I think, one of our teachers down in Melbourne, who does a lot of photography like this. And as you can see, they're logically labelled A4 landscape, A4 portrait, A5 and A5 landscape and portrait as well. So what I'm going to do, I've just highlighted a couple here. What I'm going to do yeah, I should be able to fit it in here. Just got to be mindful of my time because I've only got 15 minutes per YouTube video. Is I'm going to show you how to just as 3 scenarios here, how to use a document like this. These are raw files, by the way. And I've already opened up one of these, as you saw before. And again, image size. This is telling me that 60 millimeters, 600 millimeters by 400 millimeters at 240 pixels. So again, just be careful of this, because you need to make sure you are aware of what the resolution is. So now, having said that, I've got resample image turned off. It's off by default on my Photoshop, but it might not be in yours. And as you can see, we've got the chain link between the three documents here. So what I'm going to do is change that to 300, and of course that will downsize that. But that's just slightly bigger than A3. So you've got plenty of room to play with there. So, you know, that's an A3 page, literally in its entirety, and that's kind of sitting in the middle. The other issue, of course, is these shots have been hand shot. When I say hand shot, not on a tripod. And so there is sometimes some inconsistency with the way the shots are perhaps lining up with the edge of the page. The other thing to be cautious of course, as you can see, there's a gradient. There's a darker grey here on the right-hand side down to a lighter grey here. So if you were to want to change things in the background or whatever, you've just got to be careful of that gradient change there. But what I wanted to talk about was this. I've just got this grid happening here. Now, grid's command apostrophe next to the return key. And I just wanted to make sure that this is relatively straight. And as you can see there, it's not doing too bad a job. But you can, if you want to, like I'm just about to do this right now with this layers palette, is just double click on the background to unlock it, and then hit Command T to free transform. Not free transform, just transform. And with the Command key held down, as you know, because I've mentioned this before, you can go in and sort of move things around. Now, it's slightly annoying because, as you can see there, it's just sort of doing it in a kind of snapping to fashion, which is, as I said, slightly annoying. So I'm just going to turn snap off. And with that, it'll just be so much easier to drag this around. It will avoid snapping to the edge of the page as well. So that gives me the opportunity to sort of just line this up as close to perfect as possible. Now, what you don't want to do is sort of do too much of this. I mean, obviously that's distorting it, but if you had to make a change like this, going too far beyond the boundaries, in other words, making things bigger, will make things softer as well. So the change I'm making here is relatively small, and I'm going to go down to. I'm doing this. I'm not too concerned about being overly accurate with this. So you can see it's pretty accurate, but you know, don't think that you have to do this down to the millimeter. It's not really an issue. And again, I'm holding down the Command key each time here. So, and there's a bit, I'm not too sure where this should go. I'm certain that that's pretty much okay. And then I'm going to go to here and just align that to there. And of course, as you can see, as I'm doing this, there's little bits of white coming through around the edges, and that's fine. We can sort that out, and I'll show you how I would sort this out in a second. Now, the only other issue, of course, is, you know, we've got that natural bending there. That's the bend of the page. And then we've got this up the top here, which is, it's just a little bit of distortion. And I would tend to go along the lines of getting rid of that. And the way to do it, as I've described in a couple of instances, is to right-click. Now, this is whilst you've got free transform happening. Right-click on the image and then go to warp. And just like the other magazine demonstration, I'm just going to very simply click around that area and drag that down so that's neatly aligning with, of course, with that part of the grid there. And I can do some other minor changes to this as I'm doing that. So each one of these little changes I'm making are tiny. You know, I'm not making any big sort of broad movements. So with that, now I'm pretty happy with that. So now I'm going to hit OK, enter, sorry, return. And whilst we're at it, we'll just turn the grid off, Command apostrophe again. And that's just slightly adjusted from the original there. The other thing, of course, is I'm just going to bring up free transform again. And as you can see there, there's the actual center of this. So it's offset to the right-hand side. So that's why you don't use this entire document when you bring it in to lay out your portfolio. So don't be too concerned about that. I mean, again, if I wanted to, I could get rid of the right-hand side there, but I'm going to be cropping this out in the final instance anyway, so it's not it's not a problem. So let me stop there, and I'll come back and I'll talk about the next step to laying out a report page, say, for instance.